happening, YouTube? Anthony on Power Rangers Lost Galaxy fan film with a brand new Lost Galaxy 2014 review. And today we are continuing my reviews on the Build-A Jonah Hex wave for McFarlane Toys Batman the Animated Series line, with this time the Gray Ghost. Since we did Batman, we're doing the Gray Ghost as promised. So now that with Gray Ghost being my next figure, since they saved him the best for last, because in order really you had to get Batman first, then Killer Croc, then Ra's al Ghul and Gray Ghost. But I'm not going to do it in that particular order. I'll just put it in any order I want because I should have got Killer Croc sooner. So, the Gray Ghost, first time owning an action figure of that particular one-off character in BTAS that was voiced by the late, also great Adam West, who was a Batman himself, of course, from the 1960s Batman TV series from 1966 to 1968. And, of course, West was, like, given his history, was trying to be very distant from Batman, given the popularity of the 60s show. But when they did but decades later with Batman the Animated Series, and when they did an episode called Beware the Gray Ghost, I knew this was creative genius on the production team on the animated series to get someone who was affiliated with Batman media, like Adam West, who did the character in the 60s TV series, to voice the Gray Ghost. Now, at first, I didn't know who the heck Adam West was until eventually, by 1998, 99, TV networks started airing reruns of the 60s Batman to me for the very first time since I was a little kid, somewhere on like FX and then TV Land, the works. And that's how I was exposed to the 60s Batman TV show for the very first time. So that's who Adam West was. So that being said, let's take a look at the Gray Ghost and how glorious his figure looks, and to pay tribute to yet another former Batman that sadly is no longer with us anymore, since I've already paid my dues to the late Kevin Conroy. So here's me paying my dues to the late Adam West with this figure. So front of the package featuring Gray Ghost with the toy bomber car that, and then a Gray Ghost, what is it, a VHS tape box accessory. Then you got Gray Ghost's handgun, 2 hands, and a Build-A Jonah Hex, Build-A Jonah Hex figure piece, which we'll go over, and also Gray Ghost's trading card in the back inside of the box. And then featuring an animation cell of the Gray Ghost standing still and stoic. And then this is who we got, because I don't even know why the heck, since again I'm doing this in my particular order how I got these figures, because I don't have Killer Croc at the moment. But we will go over Ra's al Ghul next. With that being said, okay, so with all of this taken over and looking at what the box looked like, time we unbox the Gray Ghost. Okay, well, even though I apologize for trying to get the Gray Ghost to stand very still before recording this portion of the video, but I got him standing right now. So let's, now that he's out of the package, let's go over all his accessories. So the Build-A-Figure piece. So we got Jonah Hex's torso area. Oh, shit. So now that we got Jonah Hex's, torso area from the Gray Ghost. Damn it. That's the second time he's going to fall. So like I was saying, so now that the Gray Ghost is out of the box, let's go over the accessories. So when you get the Gray Ghost, he does come with Jonah Hex's Build-A torso piece. So with the arms from Batman, so you got to make sure you put the arms into the sockets of Jonah Hex's arm sockets, and make sure they're plugged in all the way, and make sure they're all in the make sure they're in the holes of the figure for the sockets and socket ports. So it's just kind of like let's see, make sure these are on the right way. So this is the left arm and this is the right arm, just making sure the figure built in. Make sure you plug in the arms. Okay, no I didn't. I thought I had it in all the way, but let's try again, because I don't know what the heck is going on here, because, or what do I have to do? Put the arm, put these ports in like this in order for it to go in. Make sure I gotta have some elbow grease to put it into the sockets. It's not that hard with these Build-A-Figures, but like, man, why they gotta make it so difficult? Make it so goddamn difficult putting the arms into the holes of the Gray, of Jonah Hex. Like, do I have to make sure it's in all the way? Yeah, I know. People don't like struggling. They don't want to see me struggle. Okay, well, after this portion from before I had to, so prior to this, prior to this part of this portion, I did manage to put the arms into the sockets, but they were pretty hard. So now we got Jonah Hex almost coming together. Once I go around Ra's al Ghul next, comes the leg and waistline area, and then whenever I do get Killer Croc, we got his head, and then the figure is complete. So this is Jonah Hex. So far, so good, coming together. Now let's go over the Grey Ghost's own accessories. So first we look at his file card detailing about the character, if you didn't know. So the Grey Ghost, aka Simon Trent, was the star actor of the Grey Ghost television series. Trent's admirable portrayal of the Grey Ghost was a high influence on Bruce Wayne's childhood. And as a kid, Bruce used to watch the Grey Ghost TV series with his dad. The Grey Ghost was Bruce's hero, and he still is. And thus, if it weren't for the Grey Ghost, when Bruce would grow older, why do you think Bruce would become Batman and face crime across Gotham City? Like how the Grey Ghost, well, even though the Grey Ghost was just a character that Simon Trent played in the series, but, if you've seen that particular Beware the Grey Ghost animated series, Grey Ghost episode of Batman, So, on to accessories. So, you got this, this toy car that the Mad Bomber would use, if you remember, in that particular episode of Beware the Grey Ghost. So, this is very authentic to how that toy car would be in that episode. And who would have thought that this bomber car would be very reminiscent to one of the most earlier Batmobile designs for Batman in some incarnations in the comics. So that is a good callback to that for a little bomber toy car thing from the episode. So that's cool that we got that accessory. Then we also have the Grey Ghost's pistol gun. So this is what the pistol gun looked like straight from the episode that he appeared in for it. And then also what looks like for this interchangeable hand with this little orange stick thing. What is it? It's supposed to be a match to set the thing, set the toy bomber, the bomb toy to set itself so when it starts going, then it wants to get ready to explode. And that was the interchangeable hand. So you want some nostalgia for the 90s, think about this Grey Ghost episode VHS box accessory piece, because, and it's very authentic, just like in the episode of The Grey Ghost. Basically, that one episode that, I gotta remember based on the plot of the episode. But it also had, some episodes of The Grey Ghost on VHS that was on air, but then decades they put it on VHS because, so you got that VHS box accessory featuring The Grey Ghost and his name on the title. So these accessories we already went over. But we definitely do have to take a look at the Grey Ghost himself. Now I just gotta give the Grey Ghost his gun, and here we go. Here we go, folks. Bringing on the Grey Ghost. Bringing him on the high influence that made Bruce become Batman. In this particular version, that is. And so, the Grey Ghost. The Grey Ghost. Yeah, just like in the episode, I had to do it. I just couldn't help it. So, unlike classic Batman, the Grey Ghost does have articulate, this articulate features going for him, and I really like the way how this Grey Ghost figure is. It's very authentic to how he looked in the episode. If only the Grey Ghost had a few more appearances. No, I think just one episode is perfect enough. But it's just a very perfect representation of what that character was in the episode and the animated series, even for just that one episode. But it is great to see the Grey Ghost as an action figure. I just never really thought they would actually do an action figure of this character. I don't even think Kenner even did a toy of this guy, even though he was only in one episode of the animated series. Same go for Jonah Hex. Jonah Hex has appeared in DC Comics, but even though I never really was a big Jonah Hex fan, but I know about that god-awful 2011 movie, but the less we speak of that, the better. So we got the Grey Ghost in hand, just like in the episode, and based on whenever the Grey Ghost came on, whenever you go to whenever there's flashbacks of Bruce as a kid watching the show with his dad, you get there's that reminder of whenever the Grey Ghost is on TV, and even same for the posters of the Grey Ghost, showing up in certain parts of the episode. especially when Simon Trent had a Grey Ghost poster on his wall in his little studio office, and, you know, trying not to think about his time when he was that character. Because what I loved about that episode, it did harken back to how, like, you know, in typical Hollywood fashion, typecasting when you were that one popular character. And this episode did hit close to home even with Adam West in real life. After wanting to distance himself long away from doing Batman, after the 60s Batman TV show came to an end in 1968, West tried to stay far away from Batman as much as possible out of fear of typecasting, because no matter how popular he was as Batman one time in his life and career, yeah, so that's probably one of the reasons why the animated series did an episode to pay tribute to Adam West when he was Batman himself one time. So that's why the Grey Ghost was a great tribute episode to him. And even just looking at the figure is fantastic. It's really incredible and exquisite, and definitely one of my favorite figures from this wave of the DC Direct line. And I really love the way how he came out. Now let's take a look at his articulation, and then we're done. And then take a look at how he stands with Batman, which which the Grey Ghost put a major influence on. His head turns all directions. I also noticed that parts of his hat is rubber and it can move a little bit, especially when touching it. And so his head does have some good articulation going on. Up and down, tilting the head, you can do that too. Unfortunately, no abdomen crunch, because this is not that type of DC figure by McFarlane. I don't think you can do, nope, you can't do no abdomen crunching on these figures, unfortunately. You can raise the arms up, though, especially with the Grey Ghost with his arms up in the air and everything. So you got that. Then you got both elbows crunching up, just like that, crunching one arm and the other arm as usual. Then you can spread them legs. The legs can go up as usual. Take a look at how he moves around and stuff. So that's really cool. Then let's try to get his knee crunch. Okay, his knee crunches are really, really good. But even though it can be stiff in the beginning, but the more I toy around with him, he'll play pretty better with the legs. And then knee crunch on this leg. So you got, the knee crunch on that leg too. And then ankle pivots. But again, he just couldn't stand well in the beginning of this video, and what you saw, because every time I try to stand him on the background, he just keeps plopping over. Man, Ghost, why won't you just stay, and just try not to fall. And now let's see how Batman and Grey Ghost standing, and they're basically the same height. And I like the way how I had to stack the two together, because that was a beautiful crossover between the two in that episode. Because, like I said, Beware the Grey Ghost, one of my all-time favorite episodes of Batman the Animated Series. So I'm glad that I got these two in the for my DC Direct BTAS collection, and I'm happy I got a Grey Ghost action figure. This is probably likely the only time I'm going to own him as an action figure, and I think this is like one of the best ones they did of him so far, bar none. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe, drop a like, share this video with your friends, hit the bell notification when I put out a new video if you really enjoyed this video. Until then, thanks for watching.